Hey everyone, my name is Sid Krishnamurthy and I am the creator of AstroArmory. I just wanted to make this video to give you guys a brief overview of the software, just run through some of the features that are available, and then help you build your first rig. So with that, let's get this video started. Alright, so when you first start AstroArmory up, what you're going to see is this main dashboard page here. You can see it's a very simple layout, very user friendly. On the left hand side you have your page selector, so you have your dashboard, inventory, projects, costs, and packing. I'll go back and kind of show you guys that more in detail here in a bit, but within this main dashboard you also have your main area where you create rigs and edit them. You also have the option to import rig and export rig, so this is very handy if you want to share your setup with other folks. You can export your rig and then they could import it into their AstroArmory and it will populate the inventory as well as that rig and rebuild it for you. So it's really cool kind of aspect of the tool that you can share your rigs with others. At the top here you have very simple file settings, help, license, just to show two different features here. Within file you have the ability to export your database and import your database. That's very useful if you plan on using multiple different computers or you got a new computer. You can export your database and then re-import it into your new AstroArmory on your new desktop, and that will make sure that you're not re-entering all the details and all your inventory items that you had entered before. The other thing is check for updates. This feature will probably get better with V2, but for V1 you have that check for updates button, and here it will tell you if there's a new feature available or a new version available. So please do keep an eye on that. I do have plans for V2 and so on and so forth, new features, so please do keep an eye on that. And then the other thing is this help button here has this about section, but this is mainly just an about section. If you want help in terms of functionality, how to use the software, the website's a better source. The website has a bit more detail, and I'm also going to keep uploading on this YouTube channel with new features, kind of help you walk through how to use the features, and when new things come up I'll also cover that here on this channel. So please do look at this, and of course you can always reach out to me either on Instagram or on YouTube if you have any questions, and I'll be very, very happy to answer them. So with that, let's just quickly go through some of the features here. So we'll come back to dashboard. I don't have any saved rigs yet because I'm going to create a rig with you guys here. So getting down to inventory. So this is kind of your main area where you're going to input all the different astrophotography equipment that you have. So if I hit category here, you can see it's broken down into all these different things. You have your OTA, main camera, guide scope, guide camera, so on and so forth. And depending on what category item you're inputting, it's going to ask you for different details. So for example, the OTA here, if I hit edit, I've inputted already this Red Cat 51 or Space Cat 51, same thing. You can see some of the input details that it asks for telescopes. It wants weight, aperture, focal length, f ratio, image circle, input thread type, as well as other things. So I know that the input thread type here is 48 millimeter. Okay. Now, if I go to main camera, you can see that some of the inputs here are brand, again, name, and then weight. And then here you have a lot of sensor information. So sensor width, height, pixel size, resolution, etc., etc. So it's a really good kind of breakdown of your equipment. And again, there's a whole bunch of categories, and it should cover most things that folks are incorporating into their rigs. So with that, the next page is going to be projects. So projects is essentially a portfolio. It's an online portfolio or virtual portfolio where you can keep track of all the images that you've shot and which rigs you use to capture them with. So for example, you can see that I've just inputted two example ones here. This tile is in red. The reason it's in red is it's a planned image. I haven't done it yet, but in April 2026 at a star party, I plan to capture the Elephant's Trunk Nebula. So this is kind of that area for that. If I go back, I have in green, because it's completed already, my image of the Flaming Star Nebula. Now, within this kind of page here, once you've clicked on a project, you can see that there's a lot more details for you to work with and input. So here on the right hand side is project details, and within there I'm going to really highlight this sessions feature here. So what sessions is, and I'm going to hit edit, what sessions is a way to keep track of all the imaging sessions that went into this project. So for example, it was captured in February 28th of 2026. I don't have a rig link to it yet because, again, I haven't created that rig. I'm going to do that with you guys, and then we'll come back and update this. Location, it was shot in Noblesville, Indiana, which is a Bortle 6. You can also input seeing and transparency conditions, moon phase, and then any notes from that session. And then down here in this table is where you really have your breakdown of your different exposures. So if you use different filters, let's say I used the L Extreme, which is a dual narrowband filter to capture 210 minutes of this. And then I can add another filter, and let's say, or I can add another breakdown, and let's say it was a no filter, right? And here maybe I again did 120 seconds of 50 images. And again, this will recalculate out and will tell you that you have two different kind of breakdowns within one imaging session that went into that image. So with that, if I kind of scroll down here within this bottom panel, you can see that it gives me some really good details. You can see the different sessions, the different, again, the breakdown of filters I used or didn't use. And again, another breakdown on location and other conditions that are useful. So if I go back to gallery, this is where I would create a project, and then you can go into that project and edit and add sessions that went into that image. The next page is going to be your costs page, and the cost page is essentially a link to your inventory page. So in your inventory page, where you put all the equipment that you have in these tables, the costs will mimic those categories and those tables. The difference, of course, being it stores information that has to do with cost and price. So in this case, just as an example, let's work with that Red Cat 51 again. And again, I'm in the equipment costs. Rig cost is a little bit different. I'll go to that after this. So with Red Cat 51, if I hit edit, I bought this new from Agena Astro, and I think I paid $900 for it. And I've seen them on like Facebook Marketplace and eBay go for about 500. So that's where I'm going to put my estimated value at. And purchase is, of course, what I bought it at. And let's just say I bought it in 2025 of November, I don't know, 15th, November 15th, 2025. The vendor was Agena Astro, and I don't have the order number, but this is a really good kind of area to keep track of what order you placed. And you know, if you ever have any issues and you have to contact Agena Astro, you can tell them the order number that you bought that equipment. So that's a really good kind of software leverage there that you have in terms of keeping track of those different things. So with that, if I go to rig costs now, this is where I can select different rigs I've built, and it will show me a breakdown of what the expenses are for that rig for all the equipment. And again, I don't have a rig yet, but once I've made that rig, I'll come back and show you guys. And then the last page is going to be packing. So packing is for if you're taking a dark sky trip or you're going to a star party. This page will let you select a rig that you're taking, and it will automatically generate a packing list for it. So it'll, you know, it's a good reminder to make sure you're not forgetting anything and you're taking and packing everything with you. So again, I don't have a rig yet, so I will come back and show you guys this. So with that, let's go back to dashboard and let's start creating our first rig. The thing I'm going to do before I make my first rig is I'm going to add a camera. So I'm going to go back to inventory, and currently within main camera, I only have the 2600 MC Duo, but I want to add another camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the 533 MC Pro. So the brand again is ZWO. This is the ASI 533 MC Pro. The weight, and again, a lot of these details you can get online, either on the website you purchased it from, so Agena Astro, High Point Scientific, or even the ZWO website. They will have a lot of these attributes that you need, like weight, etc., etc. So I know that the camera weighs about 0.46 kilograms. The sensor width I know is 11.31 millimeter. The sensor height is again 11.31 millimeter. It's a square sensor. The pixel size is 3.76 micron, and the resolution is 3008 by 3008. And then the next field here, the sensor back focus / spacing, that's going to be your native back focus. So every camera has a native back focus. This is where you would input that. And I know for the 533, it's 17.5 millimeter. And then output thread type. So this is again a really important thing for compatibility checks when you build your rig, but I know the 533 outputs a M42 thread. So with that, I can start planning what adapters I need when I'm attaching it to a filter, etc., etc. And then this is a cooled camera, and it does not have a built-in guider. All right, so before going back to dashboard and creating our first rig, there's one other thing I wanted to show you guys. So if I go to filter here, what I've inputted is the Optilong L Extreme, which is a dual narrowband filter. And there's a couple things I want to point out here. So the weight here I've set to 0.3. That seems high for a filter, but the reason being, I'm going to include the filter drawer here. So currently within AstroArmory, there is no separate filter drawer category. You have to kind of account for that in your filter. So I made a note of it here, but you can see down here, the spacing contribution accounts for that filter. So I have a 21 millimeter filter drawer, so I've included that as a spacing contribution. And I know for a fact that the input thread into that filter drawer is 48 millimeter, and it outputs a 42 millimeter. So again, this is where you keep track of some of those important details. So with that, let's go back to our dashboard and let's create our rig. So our rig is going to be created here. And if I hit create a rig, the first thing it's going to ask me for is a rig name. This is going to be a wide field narrowband rig. I only have one OTA in my inventory, so that's the one I'm going to choose. It's the Red Cat 51. And then after that, the next thing you're going to see is this main optical train. So this optical train is going to be from your camera all the way to the telescope. So the first thing I'm going to add here is a main camera, and I'm going to choose the 533 MC Pro. And again, this is where I've done this before. I've used this rig before, so I know exactly what adapters to use and spacing and whatnot. But if you have not built your rig, physically, this is where you could input different spacers, different adapters, and AstroArmory will calculate your back focus. It will check for compatibility between thread types and all of that good stuff. So it's a really good tool to use before you even buy anything that you're going to use to build a new rig with. But again, I've used this rig before, so I know exactly what goes here. So the next thing that comes after the camera is a adapter, and this is going to be a 42 to 48 millimeter converter. So again, I know this because the filter drawer takes the input of M48, so that's why I have this converter. So after that is going to be my filter drawer, and I think I hit it twice, but that's okay. So position 3 after the converter is going to be my filter. So this will be the Optilong L Extreme. And again, remember we inputted some of the details in the inventory where we said that the output thread of that filter drawer is a 42 millimeter. So from here, the next thing I'm going to do is a spacer. And this spacer is simply going to be this ZWO female to female 42 millimeter. and it's kind of a spacer, it's kind of not. It's essentially just a female to female adapter, but it does add a little bit of spacing. For this particular rig, back focus is not really important. The Red Cat 51 doesn't need a field flattener or any optical correction, so back focus is not really important. But again, if you're using a rig where you have a field flattener or a reducer and back focus is important, AstroArmory is going to account for all of that. So after this, the next thing I need is going to be I add a spacer here, and that spacer is the ZWO M42 to M48 millimeter adapter, which has a spacing of 16.5. So those 5 things are going to make up my imaging train, because from there I attach my OTA to this position 5 spacer. So after that, the next thing you can see is the mount. And again, I only have one mount inputted in my inventory, and that's going to be my Skywatcher Star Adventurer GTI. Guide scope, I've inputted the William Optics Uniguide. Guide camera, I'm going to use the ASI 120mm Mini. Controller, probably like most people out there, I'm going to use the ASI Air Plus. I don't have any temperature control, but for example, if you had a dew heater band or a dew heater ring, this is where you would specify that. Accessories, again, I don't have anything, so I'm going to leave that blank. And notes, nothing, but I'll just write first rig. And I hit OK, and voila. So you can see within our rig diagram, we have a updated kind of graphic of our entire rig broken up into pieces. So what I'm going to do is zoom in here and kind of click and drag and look at our optical train. You can see that the lines kind of indicate where the connection is between different equipments in your rig. And then if I back out and zoom in here, you can see that the Space Cat 51, my guide scope is going to ride on top of it, and I have the 120mm Mini in the back there, and then here's my mount. So again, it's a good graphical representation of your rig. Now the cool part is on the right hand side here, this panel has very important details and very useful details. So in the summary, it's going to give me kind of the big things: the mount, the OTA, the camera. After that, things get interesting. So we have optical calculations. So here it has a focal length of 250mm. Had I used a reducer, AstroArmory will calculate out what the focal length is, the new focal length, after you've reduced it. F ratio, image scale, again, it calculates image scale out for you using the pixel size of the camera. You have your field of view, and then here's a really cool aspect here: rig metrics. So if you guys remember in inventory, we put in what the weight was of each equipment. The reason is AstroArmory is going to use those different weights and calculate out what your payload capacity, or relative to your payload capacity, how much are you using. So if I go back to inventory here and go to mount, hit edit. So for the Star Adventurer GTI, it weighs 2.58 kilograms. It has a payload capacity of 4.98 kilograms, and the recommended imaging payload is 3.49. It's about 70% of the maximum payload capacity. So if I go back to dashboard, you can see here within rig metrics, the total weight of the rig, so including the mount, is 6.47 kilogram, but the payload, so anything that's riding on the mount, is 3.89 kilogram. And that's using up about 78% of that max payload capacity, which is on the higher end. Like I said, again, this thumb rule is a bit debated. If you're using a strain wave mount, it could change, but I've always heard keep to about 70% of your max payload capacity for your mount. So that's why it's saying it's a little high, because it's above that 70%. But again, take that with a grain of salt, and use your knowledge in assessing if that's really a risk or not. Back focus, I don't have a reducer, field flattener, no optical corrections, so I don't have a back focus. So because of that, the optical train spacing is also empty. And then down here is a really cool part of AstroArmory, one of my favorite kind of aspects, and that's the warnings section. So the warning section will give you really good information if you kind of forgot something or mess something up where you have thread incompatibility or anything like that. The only warning right here is the filter is not close to the camera in the optical train. That's because, again, there's a general rule that your filter should be really close to your camera, and the software thinks that because of this converter I put in there, the filter is not the closest it can be to the camera. But in reality, this converter actually goes on the inside of the filter drawer, so the filter drawer is actually right up against the camera when it's all said and done. So I'm going to ignore that warning. But for example, if I were to get rid of that converter, so just remove it, you'll see that I have a new warning now. The new warning is thread mismatch. Because remember, the 533 MC Pro, the camera, has a output thread that's a M42. The filter drawer has a input thread of M48. So that's why AstroArmory looks at that and it goes, you probably need an adapter to go from that M42 to an M48. So that's, again, where some of those compatibility things come in handy. So again, I'm just going to add that converter back and then move it up in my train. And there we go. So I'm all set. My rig is complete. And after this, let's go back down and use that rig in some of these other features. So in inventory, there's nothing, but within projects, let's go ahead and assign that rig here. And this was a first light with my 2600 MC Duo, but obviously the rig I created was using the 533 MC Pro. For this purpose of a tutorial, it's fine, but I'm gonna go ahead and make sure, or I'll just edit this to say 533. And this is where, again, you would browse and choose the image, choose the status. This is a complete project. But anyways, I'm going to go in here and edit the session. And this is where I'm going to link my rig. I'm going to link it to the wide field narrowband rig. And it looks like I misspelled field there, but we'll ignore that. So again, I've now inputted what rig that came from. So if I ever want to look, it's a wide field narrowband. And then let me go back. Okay, and this is where, again, there's a cool feature. If you have, once I input all my images, I'm gonna have a whole bunch of them. I can actually use a search bar to look for different targets or different rigs that I used. So again, it's a very, very handy tool. So the next thing was costs. We already went through equipment costs, but if I hit this tab called rig costs, I can now choose this wide field narrowband rig. And if I hit it, you can see on the right hand side, I get a really good summary of all the equipment and components that went into this rig and how much they cost. Of course, here I only inputted the cost of the OTA. So that's the only thing that's updated. Everything else shows up as $0. But again, if I go in, take the time and put in what the camera, or how much I paid for the camera, how much for the guide scope, etc., then I can get an idea of what the total rig costed. Okay. And then the final thing I'm going to show you guys is that packing feature. Let's say I'm going to go to a star party and I'm going to take this wide field narrowband rig with me. What I would do is click that rig and hit generate packing list. And the moment I do that, you can see that it tells me there are 6 total items and there's 6 remaining because I haven't hit packed on any of them. But again, it breaks down exactly what equipment I used in that rig. And it throws in a bonus, probably in V2 or V3, I'm gonna have a better logic for the cables. That way it can even check for compatibility within cables. But for now, cables is just a general thing. So make sure you pack all your, your power supply, USB cables, etc. But once I've packed everything, or let's say I started and I packed the filter, I can hit packed. And then you can see that it updates that I've packed 1 item and there's 5 remaining. So once I've packed everything, 0 remaining items. And again, it's a really good way to make sure you're not forgetting anything. And you can also add custom items here. So let's say I'm going to take a jacket with me, right? So I'll hit add custom item and I'm going to take a jacket with me. And boom, now I can remember and remind myself to take that jacket. So again, very cool feature here to make sure you're not forgetting anything. And if you're done, you can just take clear list. In future releases, I'm probably going to have a export feature, so you could export that packing list as a PDF and print it out if you want. But for now, this, it's all done within this interface. So with that, guys, I want to really thank you for tuning into this video. If you have not checked out AstroArmory yet, please do so. There will be a link to my website, to the AstroArmory website, in the description below, as well as links to my Instagram page. So please do give me a follow, and again, reach out to me if there's any comments you have. I'm one man doing this, so I'm not going to be able to think of everything, and I'm still very much learning astrophotography and trying to improve every day. So I'm definitely going to forget something or not have something, or some logic I use is not going to be the best. So please do let me know. At the end of the day, we're trying to make astrophotography more accessible and easy for people. So if you can help me, then I can update the tool and make it even better for you guys. So again, please do leave your feedback, whether it be positive or negative. So with that, thank you guys very much for watching. Please stay tuned on my Instagram page as well as this YouTube channel. I'm going to make more videos on, maybe more tutorial style videos on different features. And I'll also kind of preview new features that I'm developing here on this channel. So please do keep an eye out for that. But with that, guys, again, thank you very much for tuning in. And we'll see you next time. Clear skies.